Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Tuesday the 9th, and man, I've been on the travel, more or less, not necessarily on the run, since over a week ago. And so bounced through multiple different cities. I'm now settled into my place here in Branson, the 1,800 logs here in the background, Thor Chapman back there. And last night from this spot, we also had my monthly shooting the shit with Aaron Chapman. I had Gary Pinkerton on here, my guy that helps me with the life insurance piece of my business. Now, life insurance to me is the springboard for building wealth, especially when you're buying investment real estate. So if you're interested in that, you definitely need to be following up with us on those as we do these. We're going to be doing another one with him. I think it's going to be a little bit more in-depth about the actual process of getting it set up. So I think personally that's the greatest foundation for starting your wealth. It's also the greatest way of being able to perpetuate your wealth and to be able to help your family and protect them. So if you want information about that, reach out to us, shoot me something. Also, hit the little like and subscribe thing down here. Don't give a crap about building up. I just want to break 1,000 just because, right? So let's go back to last week. What's happened? If you've kept up on what I've been putting up here, there wasn't as much last week because I was so barraged. Especially on Friday. I was literally pressed for time for every second of every day for over a week. And so I was really, really quick with that. I had to get out and had to just move on and get you guys the charts. But let's go back to what happened. So the Fed raised the rates. They hiked it by 25 basis points. Now, there's many that are claiming inflation is cooling, that it was unnecessary for them to hike this. Now, when you think about this, you've got Jerome Powell, the current chairman, that's really wanting to be known as more of a type like Paul Volcker from the 70s, guy who just went at and attacked inflation, raising things sometimes 4 and 5 points at a shot. That 0.25% raise, even though it's thought that inflation is starting to cool a bit, he's like, I'm going to go ahead and if you got a fire that's about out, let's not just keep throwing water on it. Let's get a fire extinguisher on it as well. Let's just double down. So that increasing the cost of things by raising the rate is continue to put pressure on inflation and make people kind of calm down on that buying. I don't see people calming down on their buying as much, but you've got supply chain, a whole bunch of things that are impacting that. It's bringing that down and impacting it to where inflation hopefully should be cooling a little bit more. The other thing that we've got in the market going on here is they've got unemployment reports came out last week. They're showing some positive job creation, but really stood out was the leisure and hospitality added 154,000 jobs. That's been the leader. That's what's been pushing the job reports to show that there's more and more jobs because people are getting out, right? And you have COVID and they couldn't go anywhere. They're continuing to increase their travel. So, but comparatively speaking, back to pre-pandemic, when you look at those numbers, you had 16.2 million people that were employed in that sector. Now they're 16.25. So we have this increase that's just above where it was pre-pandemic. So we're thinking that could be getting to a head. Well, then you start looking at the reports as they came out. We have this huge jobs report, but they revised other months, February and March, down by 149,000, which means our net job gain really is a lot less, only about 104,000 net job gain. What really stood out in that particular report is that the biggest driver job up to this point was the hospitality and service part, leisure and hospitality. That's only up by 31,000. So that's telling us that peak is being reached. Is it right? Is it for sure getting peaked? I'm not 100% certain that it is, but that's just what I'm getting from those folks that I subscribe to and that give me the data to be able to at least give to you. So I'm just passing on what I'm hearing. Let's get into some chart talk here. So we're getting squeezed right here at the 50-day moving average and right at the 200-day moving average. Look how everything's pulling right to that point. Here's the line I drew in the past that I said I believe we wouldn't get past, and we haven't gotten past. Even though there's many that claim we should float into the jobs report right here, we got hit by this barrier. The jobs report didn't help us get past this barrier. We hit this barrier again in the last week. Now we're settling right here in this squeeze. Now, what's really interesting about this yellow line, the reason I drew this yellow line here is I want you guys to look back here. So I couldn't get that back, unfortunately. Tried to pull the information back, but what those yellow lines represent, if you go back a few episodes, whatever you want to call these posts, whatever, I was referencing how the interest rates were standing back in 2008 and 2009, the end of 2008, early 2009, right when they started injecting capital into the markets from the Fed. So we're right in that line. We're literally hitting right on it if you saw that. So if you go back just a little bit, you'll be able to see that yellow line is exactly where that all peaked out right before the Fed started dumping in capital. So we're in a really interesting spot from what I'm finding here. And I'll go back and I'll rebuild that and whatever, because it's going to take a bit to rebuild. It takes a while to be able to get all that structure out, and I didn't want to burn up any time here. So that's what I am seeing. Now it's not 100% perfect, right? From what I'm looking at here, it could be off just by a little bit as far as what I am showing. I could have those lines off just a little bit, but it's really, really right within that position. So Friday, I'm going to be bringing in some mortgage application data for you, show you how, if it's up, if it's down, are people buying houses? Are they backing off still? The consumer price index, we're going to have that information because that comes out tomorrow. The producer price comes out later this week, and the initial we're going to talk about how that affects the market. We're getting squeezed. Go back just a little bit and look at those charts. We're getting squeezed, and somehow it's got to pop one direction or the other. I'm a little worried because we're hitting right on the 200-day moving average. We're getting squeezed going downward, and we're getting squeezed between those two moving averages, the 50 and the 200-day. I think that the risks are going down with the market, therefore interest rates going up. So I'll continue to say, let's just lock, guys. I'm not convinced that we should be locking right now. Appreciate you guys watching, and sorry about this mix up here. I'll get this all fixed for our next one.